Carolina American Leadership Academy Board meeting will come to order at 4:06 p.m. on March 30th. We're going to begin as usual with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the announcements. Stand. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whitney, can you guys come over here?
Sure. Heavenly Father, grant us clarity and insight as we deliberate on important matters. May our discussions be fruitful and our decisions reflect integrity and unity. Amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you, Whitney. So at this time, I'm going to ask Board Member Samantha Peterson to read the ALA's mission statement as it reminds us why we exist and frames our discussions and decisions around our core purpose and values.
Absolutely. In support of the family to provide the best educational experience to as many students as possible in a moral and wholesome environment.
All right. Thank you, Samantha. So we're committed to that mission and it guides all of our work with the board. Up next, we're going to ask our secretary, Whitney, to call roll.
Sure. Samantha Peterson.
Here.
Jennifer Bowen. Here. Whitney Hendricks is here. Amy Dubois. Here. Mikey Walls. Here. Sabrina Hasty. Here. Alex Knowles. Jeremy Kelly.
Here.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hello.
Thank you. The roll call is complete and we have a quorum. So next up is the approval of our agenda. The agenda has been distributed. I actually have one addition related to the finance report. Before I mention that, are there any other corrections or additions to the agenda? Okay.
Madam Chair, just wanted to let you know Alex is online.
Oh, Alex.
I'm here. Sorry.
Alex. Okay. So I'd like to add a motion to amend our agenda to include, or I'd like there to be a motion to amend our agenda to include a new item under the finance report, which will be a motion to approve a line of credit between Blackwood and Charter One. Trevor will go over it before the motion. Right now, we're just, if there could be a motion to amend the agenda to include that, then all of the information related to that would be in the finance report. So can there be a motion to amend the agenda to include this item under finance report?
I get that motion.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, sign. Okay, so we're going to include this under the finance report, a motion to approve a line of credit, which will be explained when we get there. The agenda will get approved as amended. Our next item of business is to approve the February meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review them yet? Any amendments? Seeing none, it will be approved by common consent. The next on our agenda is public comment, but you would have to be present for a public comment, and it does not appear that we have any members of the public here for comment. So you're always welcome to be here. We love to hear from the public, but for now we will move on to reports. So first up is Abby with the campus report.
Okay. Sorry, give me. All right. Too many electronic devices here trying to. Okay. So let's talk about, welcome back. I hope everybody had a good spring break. If you were able to go break away and go do something. I know our campuses were very eager. The weather was interesting during spring break. It tried to, bring in a little bit of a storm at the beginning, but I think it leveled out and we were able to experience some good weather. So hope that was the same for you, that you got to do something fun. All right, I want to just talk a little bit about enrollment. So Lexington, again, this is a snapshot in time. I know I sound like a broken record, but things fluctuate from day to day, up and down. We didn't see any correlation with specific grade levels, any consistent patterns. The predominant or the predominant reason over the last month, and I will say a lot of this, we received records requests post spring break. So it's a natural time where we do tend to see some of those numbers fluctuate. Predominant reason was they didn't list a reason, homeschool, and then we actually had a number of students, their withdrawal was part of discipline outcomes. And so that, not necessarily voluntarily, but that part of that number is due to discipline for Lexington. I'm going to just segue into their bullets right here, and then we'll go over into Blythewood's enrollments. We have the intent to return out right now. So right now, every single one of those students, 1,671 across grades K through 12, except for the seniors. We're going to assume that K through 11, they're all coming back next year, but we know just through life that we're going to see some attrition. And so we aren't ready to share projections just yet because we want to make sure that we have as much of the data as we can to kind of get a better number. The responses, we're asking parents to have those in to us by April 13th. We're working directly with administration and the teachers to really push for 100% response rate. We really want to just know whatever their decision may be, we are really aiming to try to get 100% response rate from our families. We talked about this, I think, a little bit last month, and I just want to put a number up there in front of the board. I know there's been the big question mark of how many students, given the proximity for Lexington to Blythewood, how many are transferring from Lexington to Blythewood. 28 is the number that we have right now, which is much better than I think where we initially predicted we might lose families. If I had to take a guess, I don't have a lot of data to support this, but most families, when they get started in a school, they join sports teams, they've already been through the year one, they're ready to just hang tight there. So it made sense, after we got the number back, but 28 student transfers from the Lexington campus to the Blythewood for next school year. It's a great question. I don't know that for sure. I don't know for sure how far. Or how well spread out that is, but I'll look at it. And then just an event I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of. We were really excited about the privilege that we have to have South Carolina Superintendent Ellen Weaver coming for the Raise Assembly at the upper school. April 10th. April 10th, that's right. Yep. So excited about that. Okay, and then Blythewood, we are just students away from hitting the 1,000 student mark. The directors have been really pushing hard to get out into the community. I mean, no idea is too small right now. While they've got the bandwidth and the time, they're starting to hire more of their front office staff. So they are deploying their human resources and getting out there. They had an event this last weekend, had a few people show up, just kind of a Q&A. Everybody they talked to, they said it was a really good conversation. A couple weeks ago, they partnered with Erskine on kind of doing a progressive like dinner and just meeting different community members at different establishments. That was a really good event as well. And so little by little, we're just starting to see those efforts really pay off. Across grades K through 12 for next year, we're looking at a total of 915. And then the directors are also working to build a group of campus ambassadors that will host events, again, kind of just multiplying their efforts to use the networks that we're getting as we bring people on board who are members of the Blythewood community to really help spread the word. And I'll stop there. Any questions on enrollments? One thing I did want to add to date, we've received 1,631 new applications for Blythewood. So the campus staff and Charter One are just going through, and whatever the difference is between that 915 and that's 1,600 plus. They're making individual phone calls to just get in contact with every family who has not officially responded or enrolled. Okay. Academics, right now, we come back from break, we had teacher PD, and we are focusing on making sure that our students have everything they need before the end of the year. Just putting those dates up for the board. This is our end of the year state assessment schedule. So English 2 runs, our window is April 27th through the 22nd. EOCs for grades 10 through 12, same date, and then for SC Ready, we have May 4th through May 22nd. And those are scheduled by the campus in connection with the academics team. Any questions on academics? Okay, just a couple of general updates. We have the director assessment to share with you guys. I did just want to ask Beth, I think our plan, and I apologize, this is my error for not catching it earlier, because it has a little bit to do with contracts. We were hoping to do that in closed session, if that's amenable to the board. And then I know that there's a spot on the agenda for the Lexington campus expansion communication, so we can hold on that till that time. And then the last general update is it's that time of year where we prepare for board elections. So we'll be sending notices for applications this week, just out into the community. We're trying to kind of widen our gap for each step of this process. We'll accept applications from April 6th to the 17th. So that's 2 full weeks this time. Board candidate screenings then will take place the next couple of weeks, and our tentative date, there's a couple of things we have to lock down, but for the actual election is May 8th. Any questions?
For board elections, will they be in person again? And if so, Lexington or Blythewood?
Yes. So for right now, I believe, I'm saying I believe because I struggle to deal with absolutes, but the plan and the trajectory right now is, because Lexington is the school that's in operation, that is the plan to still just extend and focus on that being the location. Next year, it would be different because this school would be in operation as well.
Gotcha.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's how we did Lexington the first year. We did 2 elections till the spring.
Okay, yeah.
So that gives parents time to get to know each other and decide what they want to do.
So, great
And
question.
can you remind me the way the elections will work? I know last year it was like a 2-day window. Are we doing the hours for folks to come in? Is it amenable to the folks that are working and things like that?
Yep. We always try to provide time during the morning part after Driveline has finished, so we don't have the mixing and mingling of traffic, but then we also try to provide an evening window so that families can drop by after work. And that is our intention to make sure that we have a fair opportunity for anybody who wants to vote, to be able to vote.
Out of just curiosity, is there ever an intention to make voting more virtual?
Virtual?
Just out of like the
That's a
way
great
that
question.
the world is moving, and I don't know.
You know, we did so much the first 2 years that we put this in process. It was all really, pushing towards that in person.
Right.
But I wouldn't say that it's off the table. I mean, I think we can definitely discuss opportunities, especially as we become a statewide board. We're going to have to find a way to accommodate those.
Oh, for sure, yeah. As we grow.
And one of those ways is that as we continue to grow and have different campuses, it wouldn't make sense to have one voting location and rotate the campus. Every campus would need to be open for the families and community members to go to their own campus and vote. And so next year when we do this, there would be an opportunity to vote at Lexington and Blythewood.
That makes more sense. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, there's a couple of things that we'll tag up on later on in the meeting, but that concludes the campus report.
All right, thanks, Abby. I think up next we have the development report from Taylor Brand.
Could I ask one question before we leave the campus report? So I know this is the season where we're also talking about staff retention and staff contracts.
Mhm.
How is that looking?
Yeah,
A, for Lexington returning staff, and B, for onboarding here in Blackwood.
okay. I don't have numbers for you just yet, but part of that is because we've altered our approach a little bit this year. We're taking a phased approach to staffing based on our enrollment numbers so that we can ensure we're not overstaffed for next year. So we've done one phase, which has included, a chunk of teachers. Then we're just entering phase 2 this week. And then there will be a third phase to make sure we get all the contracts extended. And so I can take that as an action item to get back to you, like what our retention looks like for next year. I don't know that we have major things brought to our attention, as far as a mass attrition number, but I can get you those after we get through all of our phases and
Okay.
share that with you guys. Yeah.
When you say the 3 different phases, you mean the 3 different time periods for them to sign on to their extension? Or is there still a date where people choose to sign or not sign?
So phased as in all of our current staff,
Mhm.
we're not having all of our contract conversations at the same time like we did last year. We had
Okay.
within a 2-week period, we just kind of did all contract conversations. This year,
Okay.
it's more measured as we get back the intent to return data, as we're looking at our
Okay.
enrollment data, so that, if we have only 30 kids signed up for, jazz band, right? And we have enough slots for, 4 sections, obviously that's not going to be,
Right.
the right balance for staff. So that's what I mean by phase. We're just every few weeks, we're taking a look at our enrollment and then extending contracts as we firm up those numbers.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to Taylor Brand with the adult report.
Sorry, I can't hear you guys. Did you say it's my turn?
Yes, you're up.
Okay, perfect. I was like, I can barely hear. Well, first off, I wanted to apologize for not being there today. My wife did have a baby, if you guys were all on the edges of your seats wanting to know. So I will be there next month, and yeah, excited to see you guys and share a little bit more updates with everything. But going off on a few of the schools, I'll start with Blythewood. As you guys I can see are there right now. Things are going through with good progress. Finishes are going in. The gym walls are going up, roofing is going up, and as you can probably see, the football field has been turned over to the turf installer. So things are really exciting and shaping up there, and we're still on schedule to have things up and running for the next school year. With Lexington, Jim, I should say, not we, but Jim keeps having a lot of hands-on meeting with the architects, civil engineers for the development plan there. They've had a few TIA studies come through, or traffic engineers come through to have a TIA study come up hopefully soon. And the exciting news with Lexington is we're hoping to have shovels in the ground by end of summer. So you guys will be able to see things coming into fruition there. But the other update with South Carolina and school boards, as you've probably all heard through legislation, is we're on hold. I think I brought up Mission Lake the last time we met, but there's been a few things pushing through legislation right now. So we are on hold with any progress or move forward with Mission Lake and any other future schools right now till we have a better understanding of what the legislation in South Carolina is going to do. So with that, I know that was a bit of a fire hose to the face. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, I know with Lexington, we've had lots of conversations about, options and, everything kind of hinging on engineering. What, have we made any progress to know what we can and can't do as far as the football field, the baseball field? Any changes that are going to have to be made to the drive line that was proposed, anything like that's kind of, still morphing?
Yeah, from what I've heard, and I'll speak on the football field, and I believe Jim is on, so if he has any updates with the drive line, but I heard we're still, Jim, having engineers look at the placement of pushing the football field up. Obviously, we want to be in your guys' best interest, but I don't know if anything's come back from there. Anything you could speak on that, Jim?
Yeah, let me jump in. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we are still evaluating that, Whitney. We've got all of our survey completed. That allows us to do the site check and see where we can place the football field. Right now, the optimum, for cost is to put it in the center of that space and lose the baseball field. But we're evaluating the cost of moving it over and retaining, the space for a future baseball field. We don't have that number yet. We're still running those evaluations, but it's not out of the realm at this point. But it's looking very positive to cost wise to put the football field there without the baseball. We just got to look at it, total budget and everything. We're in the middle of doing drive line evaluation. I think Taylor indicated that we've got a traffic engineer that's been out on site. He's taking counts. He's looking at city streets and doing counts as well. And all of that goes into the informing us of what we got to do on site. Right now, we don't anticipate any changes to what we've shown you on the drive line for the site, which is it'll be an extra lane coming in off of Bruner, going through the roundabout and tying into the lower school drop-off area. We're also extending the loop between the lower school building and Lake Drive. I think you guys have seen that as well. Anything specific that I didn't answer, Whitney?
I don't think so. Thank you.
I have a clarifying question though, Jim. Just
Yeah.
to heard you correctly. So last meeting, we weren't sure if the site was available to hold both. And it sounds like that's been done and it can hold both, but budget wise, we're not sure we can do both.
It's always been about budget, Sabrina. It's never been about can it. We know it can. There's physical real estate. It's just the work we have to do to allow it to fit in the cost. It's an awful lot of earthwork to do, importing of dirt, moving dirt around, and large expensive retaining walls. So that's the traps we're running right now, is looking at if we move it, what is the cost impact to us? How big of a retaining wall? What does that cost? How much dirt do we have to import? It's all of those things that are going into the evaluation as to what we're going to end up with.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
And then ultimate clarity, it's not a matter of like if a baseball field can go there, it's a matter of leaving space for a baseball field for future board to deal with.
That's correct. We don't feel we would have in the budget per the financing you guys have in place for the new money projects. We don't feel we have money in the budget to do a baseball field at this time. We would just be leaving space for it.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And let me clarify, leaving space for it if the budget works out to do that as well.
Find that bag of hundreds then, Jim. What are you waiting for?
I'm just
And-
trying to
and just,
follow you home.
Just to further clarify, Jim, so to leave space for the baseball field, the football field would need to be moved. Was it west or north? Just orientation of the site. The football field would need to be moved.
It would be moving north, Jordan.
Okay, if it moves north, the topography would require us to have those retainage walls and different things, which is kind of the big indicator of the cost.
That's correct.
So, yep, just wanted to clarify that because the board, if you remember, you did see the two kind of visuals, one with the baseball field on the bottom and one without. And so ultimately what we're looking at is shifting the football field up is going to increase cost. If we're willing to incur that cost, depending on what it comes out to, that would kind of eat up the budget for a baseball field right now. And we'd have to figure out how to do a baseball field later.
And Jim, how about potential completion dates for these projects?
Yeah, the overall, we expect everything to be complete by the end of the school, well, for start of the school year for next year. So the 26-27 start of school year. Now, some of these projects will be we'll be able to start earlier, and we should be able to get, start on the drive line, start on the building, start on the football field area. Those will be going simultaneously. They're not going to complete at the exact same time, but I don't have a schedule for that yet. It's all dependent on permitting. The building permitting is different permitting than the site permitting and moving earthwork, doing earthwork and things like that. So one of our big hurdles right now is a May meeting with the town of Lexington. They want to look at the site plan and what we intend to do and how we're approaching traffic. And that's our goal is to get to that May meeting and see where we go from there.
You meant the following year, right, Jim? Not 26, 27, 27.
You're right. Thank you. Yes, it's 27, 28. Thank you.
Like that. That's some dangerous stuff. That'd be dangerous.
Yeah, that's a bad mistake. I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you, Jim.
Any other questions you guys have for Jim and I?
I don't think so.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thanks, Taylor.
Congratulations again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we have our finance report with Trevor Denham.
Good afternoon, members of the board. On the finance side, so we sent the reports out about a week ago. We didn't see anything unexpected from a revenue perspective or from a cost perspective. Things are continuing to move as we had anticipated during the month of February. And so I would just in interest of time, are there any questions about that? If not, then we can forego going through the details. But if you have questions, then we can answer any questions that you might have. Okay. As always, if you have questions or if there's things that we can clarify, we want you to be fully and 100% comfortable and confident in the financial numbers. So feel free to ask us any questions at any time. As Amy mentioned, there is a motion to approve a line of credit between Blythewood and Charter One. And so the proposal is that we establish a line of credit of $2.5 million between the two entities. So we have some large upcoming expenses for the startup of Blythewood. So we have $700,000 in furniture that we need to get on order. We have $300,000 of curriculum that we also need to purchase. And then we have about $700,000 in buses also that we want to get on order. And so the easiest way that we have found to finance that, as obviously Blythewood doesn't have any students, doesn't have any revenue yet, is to establish this line of credit between Blythewood and Charter One. And so what we would do is we would set this up now, and then it would convert to a note once school opens and there is revenue. And that would then work at a 6% interest, depending on annual interest rate, depending on what the amount of that line of credit that's consumed. And then over the course of time, as ideally Blythewood would then also be bonded out, just like what we did with Lexington. Any remaining balance would be put into that bond. And so to establish this financing now, this is what we would propose. We would actually prefer to have a bank or someone provide this line of credit, but given that there is no revenue at Blythewood right now, we're not able to secure that financing. And so Charter One is willing to provide that at this point. So that is the proposal. And so if you are comfortable with that, do you have any questions with that regarding that proposal?
Can you repeat what the total credit line amount was?
Yes.
$2.5
So it'd be 2.5 million. And we have, $700,000 in furniture, desks, chairs, tables, et cetera, to outfit the school. And so we're doing that for 1,500 students. So you just saw the enrollment, that was for 900. and the capacity of Blythewood is, going to be closer to 3,000 one day. But to conserve the cash, we thought 1,500 is a good place to be this first year. It still gives us plenty of room to accommodate all the incoming students and additional growth from where we are today from an enrollment perspective, but also doesn't overspend now. So $700,000 gets us 1,500 students worth of desks and teacher desks, et cetera. So that's the first part. $300,000 in curriculum, books, textbooks, et cetera, all of that. And then we've purchased 4 buses, so 4 brand new buses that will be ready for delivery this summer. And so we would have those, and that's about 650,000 or so, roughly. And then we know that now that we're starting to hire staff, we have additional marketing expenses, et cetera. That's what gets us up to, something in the neighborhood of $2.5 million. So each month going forward, we'll start showing Blythewood, some Blythewood spending numbers, so that way the board can see how that's being spent as we start the school.
Okay. When you originally mentioned the number, I think you said Blythewood and Lexington, but this is not a shared line of credit.
Correct. This is a singular line of credit for Blythewood. So Blythewood and Lexington will have 2 separate sets of books. They are 2 separate entities, and so they'll need to have 2 separate audits. So this is strictly between Blythewood and Charter One.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Are there any other questions related to that?
Hey, Trevor, this is Alex.
Hey,
I'm just
Alex.
out of curiosity, who kind of guarantees the debt on that line of credit? Or who secures it?
So I mean, Charter One is fronting all of the costs. So it would just be an agreement between us.
Okay. And then I guess, how long is the term? I know you mentioned the interest rate was 6%. Is it just kind of an ongoing line of credit until it's paid off effectively?
Yeah, so the number that we put in there is 5 years. And that should be plenty of time for the school to continue to ramp and then for us to bond it out. Usually we would seek bond financing within 2 years, roughly, to be able to secure better leasing terms, et cetera. And so in general, when we've done this for other startups, we have had this be for 5 years just to give us plenty of time, for that to happen.
Cool.
And Trevor, we did this for Lexington, right?
I think this is very common, for how that we have done this. And I do believe we did this for Lexington as part of the startup. Yes.
Hey Trevor, I have a quick question. On the first page of the line of credit, it calls out ALA Blythewood. Can you just explain when it says when this principal place of business, it's got the Lexington address? Is that just because this school isn't officially open yet? And that address was then eventually changed? Or why is it calling out the Lexington address?
Yeah. Gordon, do you have any thoughts on that, on the address? Are we still using the Lexington address for now until Blythewood is up and going?
Well, technically, the board is the entity that holds the charter, and since Lexington was the first campus, the set of books that's being done is under the ALA South Carolina entity. And so because that is registered as your office for the state, Secretary of State and everything, that would be why the address shows Lexington.
Awesome. Thanks for that clarification.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, well then is there a motion to approve a line of credit between Blythewood and Charter One?
I motion to approve line of credit.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, Trevor. Before we finish the finance report, there's one more thing I want to mention. We just need to notify the board that Charter One is applying for a P&I grant. That stands for Planning and Implementation Grant. It's a one-time grant for new charter schools for up to 3 years. It gives us capital to work with. We can be awarded up to $850,000. We'll have the opportunity, we, the board, will have the opportunity to see the application before it's submitted, and you will receive additional details through your board email soon. It's not an item that needs to be approved, just something that we wanted you to be aware of as part of our financial responsibility. So you'll hear more information about that coming soon, but we're applying for that grant. Lexington got it as well, so it's good news.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a really good grant.
Yeah,
That's great.
it's a really good grant. It is competitive, a P&I grant, there's a longer name. What's the longer name?
P&I.
Yeah, planning and implementation is what it stands for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we want to go after every dollar that's available for the schools.
Oh, for
And
sure.
These are great grants. And as Amy mentioned, it is competitive. So there's no guarantee, but we'll put our best foot forward to apply for it and hopefully get it.
All right, that's right. Thank you so much, Trevor. So, moving on, we have the Lexington campus extension, communications update from Abby.
Yeah, I don't have anything formal to present, but we did meet after we talked with you guys last month. Essentially, this was the conclusion we came to. Instead of putting out another communication, we asked ourselves, what would the communication say? And the communication would say exactly what it said. We went back and reviewed December's. It was pretty good. It talked about all of the potential updates and projects that we have planned when everything is fully built. So we're changing our approach. We're working with Erskine and campus leadership, Gabe, and we're going to put together some film and videos to put on social and also to put out to the community that really walks them through what they can visually expect. And we think that's one of the best ways right now while we're waiting on everything that Jim and Taylor gave you guys information on. While we're waiting, we just want them to be able to share the vision with us. And as soon as we do have dates, we have it in our plans to communicate those out to the community. But in the absence of something new, we just felt like the best thing that we can do is show the community, just what we have planned for them through some visual videos and cues. So, like I said, we're partnering with Erskine on that. They've got an incredible creative digital team. So they're going to actually come out and help do the footage for it. And then we're working with marketing to make sure that it's on all of our platforms and we're getting the word out into the community as well as through our newsletters. So
Didn't they do the videography with, I can't remember her name, but the girl last year that had the video done on her?
they did the documentary.
Yes.
Yep, correct.
Yeah,
They
that
did.
came out really, really
Yep.
good. That was
And
good.
they've been helping us too with some of the things for Blythewood as well, some of the videos that they've done and interviews
awesome.
with the director. So we're gonna employ their help and work together. It's been a good partnership, especially on the marketing front. So we're excited that they were happy and willing to help us with this endeavor as well.
That's awesome.
That's great. When, is there a timeline that,
We are meeting this week to discuss dates on when they can come and film. Gabe's gonna kind of walk the land and show them where all of the facilities will be so they can kind of have a visual reference. I don't have dates on when they're gonna film, but Erskine is really quick on the turnaround to get the product out. So it'll, I imagine it'll be very soon, very soon. That's all I have as far as the update on that.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, Abby. Next up, it looks like we can do the presentation of the leader assessment and open the session because we're not talking about any individual contracts or individual specifically, just the assessment itself. So Abby Jordan and Mitch are going to do that.
Yes, and Mitch is actually in the air right now, traveling as one does. And so Jordan is on as well, but we're going to just walk through. You should have a copy of the assessment, but we just kind of wanted to, jumping off of the talking points that Mitch shared in everybody was here in person and we talked a little bit about this. Yes, just it seems,
Yes.
a lifetime ago, right? So we wanted to just talk a little bit about how this has been set up. Again, this is the presentation. We fully expect that, there might be some questions or thoughts, and we're not asking for the board to approve this in this meeting. We just kind of wanted to give you some information as to the ideas behind the design. Jordan, did you want to start off, or do you want me to just kind of go through these couple of slides here first?
I think you can go through and then I'll chime in.
Okay. So, you know, when we look into the future and we're looking at the number of schools and the geographic distance that we will have with our schools, we wanted to design something that would provide the board with a structured way to reflect on school leadership across the organization of ALA South Carolina. So you'll see if you look at the questions, the focus is on the system level of leadership and not necessarily individual performance. Want to caveat, if there are individual level concerns, we're asking that you direct those to the appropriate level of Charter 1 leadership and right away, not necessarily waiting for an annual review to include that. This is so that we can ensure that the board is staying, you know, within their scope of oversight of academic and financial outcomes, the stewardship of the mission, and making sure that we're adhering to policy. So that was the guiding principles, if you will, and what are we trying to do in designing this assessment. So here's kind of some of the areas of criteria that we wanted to make sure we included in this assessment. So alignment of school leadership to mission and model, effectiveness of support and development structures, accountability for academic and operational outcomes. It doesn't evaluate individual school directors. We, as Charter 1, we do have a process for individual evaluations for all of our school leaders. So this is different from that. But this rather evaluates how the leadership is managed and supported across ALA South Carolina. So not personnel based, but just focused on, okay, as we review the feedback and we look for patterns across the responses, you know, what can we do to continually improve? I'll turn it over to you, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks, Abby. I just want to kind of circle back from just a more of a protection lens. As we were preparing this and after managing so many different entities across the country, we do have a lot of experience in this realm, and we looked at Arizona, where we've got 25 campuses under a single board. We look in North Carolina, where we have one board per campus. For the most part, a few have multiple campuses. And as we were looking into this, the reality is that it's inevitable that as community members, as parents that go to specific schools, you will become aware of situations regarding school leaders. As Abby mentioned, we would prefer that those conversations happen immediately with Charter 1 so that we can immediately handle any concerns or questions as it relates to that. What we found is when we do have an annual evaluation or assessment, some people tend to wait and then just dump everything into the assessment. And then it's too late to go out and be proactive about taking care of those concerns and doing all of those things. What we found as well is when you are a statewide board, you're going to have leaders across the state, and you will not have the same level of familiarity and knowledge into the day-to-day operations at every single campus. And so we took this approach to protect you as board members, because when most of you are local to the Lexington campus, whether you're parents or community members, and you will always get feedback being a parent from staff relationships, from community conversations, different things. But we ultimately, those conversations are never 100% complete. They're typically one-sided, and they're going to be inconsistent across you as a board. Remember, as a board, you are a single entity, not multiple separate individuals, right? And so when you take an evaluation on a personal level and evaluate directors personally with limited information, it really kind of opens up for claims of bias, unfair treatment, Questions regarding due process will come up. And then it also increases legal exposure to the board if personnel decisions are a result of this, right? How did that information come to the board? Did it follow the same process across every single director and so forth? And so our approach to this was to stay at the governance level and to assess how leadership and directors are doing as an entity level. Of course, we don't want to prohibit the opportunity. So let's say the evaluation comes up and you're made aware of something a week before and you just haven't had a chance to reach out to Charter One. At the very end of the assessment, there's still a spot where you can put in things that you're aware of. We do value your input, and I think that is still appropriate to be put in if it's in that situation. But the structure is to be as consistent as possible so that every director has the same treatment and the same evaluation process, despite having different levels of relationships with the board. Does that make sense? Are there any questions regarding that approach?
Yeah, that was great.
I have a question. So are these evaluations going to be done by campus? Or are we just saying leadership as a whole over potentially in 10 years, 8 campuses? Or are we saying we have an evaluation for Lexington, one for Blythewood, one for, Charleston, et cetera?
It's meant to be as a whole, as an organization. You manage the entire state. If specifics come up regarding a campus or a situation of that nature, then absolutely bring that up. The challenge is to create an in-depth survey or an assessment, and to do it individualized. The board won't have the same information per director. And so that's why your interface is Charter One when you become aware of a situation where the operational arm to the schools. And so it really highlights the relationship there with Charter One. How are we hearing feedback from the board? How are we implementing? How are we coaching directors when community situations come up? Are they resolved quickly? Like if there's a change in leadership, how are we coaching the new director? A lot of those types of things so that it stays at the board level.
I understand the intent behind it, and I understand all of your points about protection, and also we won't know people as an intimate way as we do with some of the Lexington folks. I will say, maybe I'm alone on this, but I don't know how this could be super accurate across multiple campuses, maybe with Lexington and Blythewood, but like more than that. But even like Lexington and Blythewood as it stands today, they're in wildly different places, and I have wildly different viewpoints on what I think they're going to look like in 3 years. So I would, again, I could be alone on this one, but I would say that I don't love the idea of having it just be one assessment for the whole kit and caboodle. I would think it would have to be at least one assessment per campus. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, we can look into some more campus specific questions. We're trying to eliminate redundancy as you continue to get bigger. There's only a few campus specific questions that I think would be relevant. And so rather than answering the same questions as a whole and then just a few specific campus specific questions, we can look at kind of a way to highlight specific campuses so that you're able to, like, if it's in the same form and there's just like, this is a Lexington question, this is a Blythewood question, this is Mission Lakes question. And it can be kind of like a scale. How's your confidence level? What's your satisfaction level? Different things like that. Where this is, as Abby said, this isn't meant to be voted on and approved. This is really our first stab at something like this. We just wanted to be aligned with the board on the approach. And so there's definitely some refinement, and we can figure out how to be a little bit more specific without really exposing the board, because what we're trying to prevent is those unofficial communication channels surfacing in the assessments, if that makes sense. Because it's a good example that you use Lexington and Blythewood. Lexington, You are a mom, you've got friends that go to Lexington, you've got staff members that are friends, right? And so you're going to have a much more in-depth understanding and view into the Lexington directors, whereas Blythewood, it's a little bit, it's a step removed, right? And as we continue to grow, each new campus is going to feel a little bit more and more removed because one, distance, but two, it's just the capacity. And so as you continue to grow, we want to make sure that those situations that you're aware of at Lexington, that you feel like I'm aware of these situations, I'm aware of how the leadership is doing, you're not going to have that same level for every single campus. And so what does the right survey look like to protect you as a board, and then to give fair and equitable feedback to the directors so that they are evaluated appropriately, Charter One's evaluated appropriately, and then we can move forward.
And I think one thing I would just add to that, Jordan, is, I would just recommend as you guys are going through the assessment this next month, having that lens and looking at some of the questions and saying, okay, if I look at, question number 3, just talking about mission and values of the organization from the position of Charter One and the management, and just put yourself fast forward 5 years. And, if there was a school in Greenville, or, is this a question that I could fairly apply based on the information that I do have and that I do receive in board meetings? And then also just remembering too, that last box, we wanted to make sure that there was also a catch-all, so to speak, that if there was something like, let's say you're aware of 9 out of 10 campuses, you could say, strongly agree, but there's one, that you just have a particular thought on, and, whatever the area may be, there's at least a place designated where you can put that information.
I have one more question. You mentioned Arizona and the 25 schools that are there and the one board that manages all of those campuses. Is this evaluation structure, is this something that's being built from the ground up, or do you have something in place in Arizona that you're using on an annual basis? Or is this completely new?
No, this is completely new. We don't have any board organizations that we work with that evaluate directors.
Hold on. Rewind, Jordan.
Sorry.
You cut out. There you go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Now we can.
Okay. So Arizona does not have a director evaluation rubric or assessment that they do on an annual basis. When I was referring back to Arizona, we were looking at how the board functions and the level of familiarity that they have with the individual directors. And we asked the question, how would they be able to actually do this assessment? We have one board member whose granddaughter goes to the campus that my students go to. And I see him in Driveline when I pick up my kids and whatnot. And so he's naturally going to have a little bit of an insight into that campus. But if you asked him about the other campuses, he'd really not have any insight or clue. And so we were looking at that because they're currently in operation. They meet every month. They meet multiple times a year as a board. And when they do have a situation that comes up, it's a direct phone call to Charter One of, hey, I've been made aware of this. Wanted to pass it to you guys so that you can do your investigation and that you can follow up with it. We take it, we run it through the process, and we follow up and say, hey, I got an update for you. One thing that we always say, it's like a mantra, is the first story you hear is never the truth. And so we always do the investigation. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it doesn't. But we'll follow up and we'll say, hey, remember that concern you had? Well, this is what we found. This is what the resolution is, and this is how we're moving forward. We do have boards in North Carolina, and Abby, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe any of them have a director evaluation either.
No, they do not. We do just climate surveys similar to what South Carolina has, but there isn't a direct director evaluation.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
I would say, I think it would be, to get the most out of this, I think the board will need access to the climate surveys from the South Carolina or you know, the metrics, you know, the big
Mhm.
picture
Yes.
kind of statistics that we're looking at, anything that we can track as far as teacher retention, student retention, turnover, you know, academics, all of those things, I think will help us to truly, you know, make the most of this opportunity to do this evaluation.
So data points, like,
Yes.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
and if this is going to be something that takes place every May, then at the end of the month, then, you know, for the course of the month, maybe we have access to those reports so that we can accurately evaluate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but 7 is about the families. Well, we're not gonna know the families of the different schools.
Yeah.
right.
I would think you would need to see like what
Some-
the surveys
Right.
look like from the
And we can absolutely just kind of,
basic data.
again, with that many schools, but we can pull the data together so that you guys can have that, you know, as a way to kind of assess. Again, data tells part of the picture, doesn't tell the whole picture, but it does help, I think, inform your ability to, you know, accurately provide an assessment. And again, the responses, because you would only see your individual responses so that it would be able to remain, you know, truly objective. We'd be able to find any patterns from that assessment.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this kind of stems a little bit from the unique model of ALA, right? Where South Carolina requires this, but most charter school boards have one school, if not a couple, maybe.
Yeah, correct.
And so there's,
And is it a requirement or is it just what we had to put in our bylaws to get approved? Because I think there's a distinction there.
Here's my understanding in working with some members of the state and the authorizer is that as with most laws, rules, things, there's been experiences that this has been put in place, keeping in mind that most charter schools in the state are operating a singular charter school, not necessarily a group of charter schools. So though it is my understanding that it is a requirement, you know, that's why we're trying to we're playing the long game here and looking at our approach to this as a whole as if, you know, something we can do from year to year to year that's sustainable.
also where the beneficial relationship, as I understand it, between Charter 1 and ALA works, because a lot of that is built into,
Correct.
because you guys are protecting the brand and all your things really well too. So, but I do love the idea of having all the data points. I mean, that's really what we're doing, you know, so.
Yeah, and I think the only comment I would say on that is depending on when we have access to the information in the climate surveys might inform when we do the annual assessment.
What is the plan once you get this survey from us? What are you gonna do with that data then?
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to what we shared, we're going to look for patterns. If there are some things that maybe we're not aware of, I mean, Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we could absolutely come to the board to ask for more information if there was something that we weren't aware of that was being indicated. I foresee us, you know, being able to have surprises when it comes to academic data or even some of the financials. But to that end, if we needed more information, we could come to the board. But really, that's what we need to be able to see the data to make, you know, a decision on, or I guess.
Like if there is a pattern, are you gonna share it with the directors? Like, I guess this is a direct.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So at that point, we would start looking into the specific concerns. And this is kind of where it comes down to. Nothing should be a surprise. We should be having open dialogue with the board. And if there's concerns, it should come to Charter 1. Abby kind of mentioned, we see these trends where things take place at a state, inside a state, and then laws get made. And so if I'm a betting man, I would kind of be willing to bet that a lot of schools were having issues where they weren't really following up with the directors, and there was a difference between the director and the board, and they weren't seeing eye to eye. And so the state just came down and put this requirement in for all charter schools to be forced to do this, right? To my knowledge, there's no follow-up that we send this back to the state. ALA has two layers of complication. One, multiple campuses. Two, Charter One is an EMO that oversees the day-to-day operations, right? And so it's kind of a built-in check to ensure that we're doing this, but in reality, these conversations should be happening already. When there's concerns that are brought forward to you, please pass them along to us. When we get these surveys back, we will review it. Abby, myself, and any other relevant parties will sit down, we'll review the results. If everything is fine and dandy, great. We follow up in the next board meeting and kind of share the report, the results with the board in closed session. If there's concerns, then we'll talk about it. We'll come up with an action plan, and we'll address the board as well on what we found. And if we agree, disagree, and then we figure out what the next steps are.
Any other
And then-
questions?
If we don't have any other questions, I do just have one announcement related to school leadership and within Charter One. I just wanted to make the board aware that, and she's on this call, Joan Roman. Some of you have probably met her at some of the events. So happy to have her on the Southeast operations team, but she has been promoted to a vice president of operations. And so she works directly with all of the school directors in South Carolina. So we're really happy to have her on. I don't know if she's still on.
Good evening. I'm here. Do you see me, Abby?
Yes, we do. Hi, Joan.
Hello. Good evening. Yes, and I have spent quite a bit of time at both Lexington and Blythewood in the last couple of weeks. So coming up to speed very quickly on what's going on in our schools. Previously, I was an academic manager and had spent time there as well, but with a slightly different lens. So
We're glad to have you on board.
thank you.
And is like insane. Very impressive.
Well, yeah, we're glad to have you. And we also want to support you in any way we can, so let us know. Next up on our agenda is our announcements. The only announcement is that board meeting is April 20th, 2026 at 4 p.m. here at the Blackwood campus. We hope everyone is able to make it to that meeting. And at this time, we'll ask for a motion to enter closed session to discuss confidential matters. And thank everyone for being here with us tonight and for your continued support. So is there a move to go into closed session?
Promotion, you want to close session?
There's a motion from Sabrina. Is there a second? Second from Cassie. Thank you. The motion carries. So because this portion of the meeting is confidential, we have to ask anyone, I guess, And um, are we good to go?
Joe can. Okay.
So the board is now going to do a roll call vote related to the expulsion appellate review determination. Just as a reminder, the role of the board is only to review these to see if ALA followed our policies and procedures, and if there was any reason for us to believe there was bias used in the determination. So that's our role as a board. So we're going to do the roll call vote now. Samantha Peterson.
All told.
Okay. Alex Knowles.
Good.
Present.
Do you affirm the decision or remand for corrective action?
I affirm.
Okay. Jeremy Kelly,
Here and I affirm.
Cassie Rolls,
Affirm.
Whitney Hendricks, affirm. Sabrina Hasty, affirm. Jennifer Boland, oh, she has recused herself.
Yes.
From voting, and then Amy Boyce, also affirmed the decision. So with that, we have concluded all the items in our agenda. Is there any further business?
Nothing from everyone.
Hearing none, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.